Well guys, welcome to WAYNOS FOTOS Cameras. We've got another video today, and yeah, I'm a Canon fanboy, and that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about how Canon has kind of had a lot of criticism over the last 5 to 10 years, and they've been behind the 8 ball, and Sony's really been dominating the market, especially in the more higher end professional cameras. And Canon has been like, sort of doing catch up to Sony, because Sony cameras are really, they do perform very well, and a lot of professionals use them. They have a very, very big lens choice, and they've been in mirrorless a lot longer, so they've got that expertise. Canon and Nikon are both come into the mirrorless quite late. Nikon's kind of on the map now with the Z9, and that camera is performing very well in sales. And the Canon now have really got their cameras, their mirrorless sorted, and I've got the R3 and it's really, really good. I've got the EOS R as well, and that, although it wasn't a bad camera and I like the color science out of it, it kind of is really lacking in the way the tools and use, the way you can use the camera. It kind of, it hasn't got the dynamic range and everything of this R3. So that was their first attempt into the mirrorless market. And then of course they've had the lenses. Now, the lenses, there's not that many lenses in reality compared to others. And what Canon did recently is they locked out a lot of the other brands that are not genuine products. So they can't use the focusing system. They can make the RF, but it's the focusing system apparently that they're not allowing these other companies to use. So they can make the RF, but they can't make it so the autofocusing works, which is kind of a bit of a bummer if you like using autofocus. Now, the thing you can do is you can buy the adapter, and there's a lot of EF glass out there that you could still use. So it's kind of true, but there is workarounds. But then you may argue, yeah, the EF lenses are not the latest lenses, mounts and all this. But in reality, you can still get some of those lenses, those specialty lenses that you get, like tilt shifts and anamorphic and so forth. They still make them in the EF mount, so you can get them. So that is, it's not as bad as they're making out. But back to Canon and Canon doing the catch up. Now, we have all of the people on YouTube, and they criticizing Sony, and they criticize Canon, they criticize Panasonic, and they criticize all of the different cameras, right? So there's no camera that has every feature that we like, and it's just the perfect camera. And of course, technology is moving, and camera brands add those technologies as they go along. But what has really happened in recent time, I think the Canon cameras have really caught up with Sony. And I mean, I've got this R3, and the picture out of it is really nice. It's really brilliant. The camera to use ergonomically is really good. It feels really nice in the hand. It's got lots of buttons that you can map on it. The buttons just fall on your fingers. It's a really good camera. It's got good battery life, and it's just a very rounded camera. It's a camera that you can buy, and it hasn't got any kind of niddly pain in the necks that you go, oh, battery keeps going flat, or where's the button, or how do I set this? It just works. It works really well. And also with the Canons, you've got the flip screen and the touch screens that work very, very well. Now, with the Sony cameras, which are now popular, and they basically been the standard for a number of years in the mirrorless market, well, Canon now are starting to attack that. And what we've seen is Canon now have got a lot more cameras that are selling well compared to the Sonys. And we just had a release from B&H, and B&H have said the top #1 camera over the last few months has been the R6 Mark II. So even though we have this negative about the proprietary lenses and RF, people are still happy to buy the R6. And the R5 and R6 have a very, very good reputation. They're cameras that a lot of people like using, and they rely on them. And the Canon, one thing I like about the Canon cameras, whatever you say negatives about them, they're always pretty well made. The only one that I've heard that people have complained about is the C70. They're saying that one, for some reason, I don't know why, Canon kind of didn't give it the same build quality, and there were some issues with the flip out screen on it. And that's a little bit disappointing. And that's one of the reasons why I actually didn't buy the C70 and I went for the R3, because the R3 is a much more rugged camera. It's made in that hybrid line and it's got that same quality. Well, anyway, guys, for all you Canon lovers out there, it's good to see Canon are fighting back and they're getting back in the ring and they're taking it to Sony, and they've really caught up, and probably not only caught up, but they're probably now taking the lead. And I mean, obviously, we're going to see Sony take the lead back again, and because that's how technology goes. Someone brings something else, and someone responds, and that's good for us, the consumers, to have that competition there. So, guys, leave your comments down below. What do you think about this tit for tat? Sony, Canon, Nikon, ... And Canon coming back, and I think they've got 3 or 4 cameras in the top 10 from B&H over the last few months. So Canon are doing very well in the sales department, and that's good to see. And anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to leave it, and I will see you next vid.